Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atin sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero, sugo, todo sa kayod, tunong at tulong. Ipag the Blue Eagle, galing, hiding at tigil.
Do you have concerns or problems about the school? Pag may problema, huwag mag-alala. Sabihin sa Sanggu is back to help students address and bridge different concerns. The form is now available via oursangu.com/SSS. Simply fill out all the needed information and you're done. You may view the progress of your concern in the school trackers. Don't forget to check your email in case of clarifications from the team.
SSS, sabihin sa Sanggu. SSS, sabihin sa Sanggu. Kung may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa Sanggu. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa Sanggu.
Pwede naman magsimula, sir? Okay. Hello, Athenians! Good evening, magandang gabi. This is Sabihin sa Sanggu Radio. I'm JV Beherin, one of your hosts for this evening.
And I'm Kat Moreno, your Kikay at Tita friend. JV and I will be your hosts for tonight's SSS Radio. Alright, so JV, what's our first agenda today? Wow, meeting!
Live meeting? Hindi po to. It's not like a live meeting. We're here to still discuss issues important to you, but on another format and another way of communicating with you. But first and foremost, we want to explain what Sabihin sa Sanggu Radio is and how it's different from the other methods that we've been using to reach the LS student body, to reach you and to help one another address school issues that affect all of us, no? So, Sabihin sa Sanggu is actually a campaign that was launched when I was still a freshie and some of the people with me on the screen were freshies. Kung maaalala ng mga naka-experience ng on-site classes, ito yung tumutugtog pagkatapos ng NLET ng 10 beses or pag patapos na yung mga test ninyo, no? So, sabihin sa Sanggu, used to be a Dropbox system where you get to drop your different concerns and Sanggu gets back to you by addressing those concerns by submitting them to different offices. No? So now that we're online, we actually transitioned to an online system, and now you can just send your concerns to oursangu.com/SSS. And we actually have some people who have been dealing with these concerns directly, which are the school Sanggunians. Okay, so Kat, do you have any other reasons why SSS Radio is being done today and in the next few weeks?
Well, hindi ba transition na rin?
Oo nga eh. Patapos
So
na ata
it's-
yung mga trabaho natin.
Yeah, I'm so excited, Char. When you were sharing about how SSS began 2 years ago, I remember the time where I think it was shut down because everyone was singing it all over campus where people wouldn't remember what was being blasted anymore.
Oo nga eh. Nawala na nga yung PA system.
Yeah. It's okay. It was a vibe though, for real. Anyway, so aside from the transition, I think the topics that we'll be talking about in Radio is also a good way to cap off the year and a good start for the upcoming administration of Sanggu, diba? So yeah, with that, let's start the show.
Yeah.
What's our
So
first
our
ep
first-
about?
Well, it's the pilot episode, so we're really just figuring out how to do this radio thing, no? But then, we'll start with siguro leveling off with where SSS Radio is from. It's from Sanggu, and I guess that's the elephant in the room that we hope to discuss, no? Actually, our vision for SSS Radio is to bring out conversations that we need to hear as a public and to really just talk about things that matter, no? And one of the elephants in the room is actually Sanggu's performance this year, no? In this interim period. And I'm saying that as the Sanggu president who was suddenly thrust into this job, no? So, and I think everyone naman was thrust into the online setting, no? So I think we can openly talk about it, no? So the elephant in the room is the good, the bad, and the ugly of this school year.
It's a whole chica minute. Well, in this case, it's an hour and a half. So from that, we'll understand that there were a lot of changes and unexpected events that happened with the year. And there were a lot of hiccups, especially since the transition to the online setup was kind of sudden. Not just for the academic setup, but also for all our organizations, our students coping to the different challenges being work from home or school at home has faced. So we know that we're not the only ones struggling through everything. There's a whole community here that really had to adjust in less than a year to what the pandemic brought about.
And actually thinking about it, we've adjusted in so many ways, not only on-site to online, but also semestral to quarterly, and going to campus and going out to places around Katipunan to just staying put in our homes. No? So imagine actually what we've been through. No? And even Sanggu, we know ourselves that things could have been done better, that there are other things that we could have addressed much earlier, no? Talked much earlier about. But then, I think naman, no one can say that we didn't try our best and we didn't give our all. And I guess, moving forward, there's a lot of things, not only Sanggu, but then the student body can learn, our community can learn as we continue to face an uncertain time of learning, especially as we are still on lockdown. We don't really know what the future is about.
Yeah, that's one thing actually I've been super thankful about. Like, you guys know me, I like my conversations very straightforward. So with this year, it was really seen how even with our relationship with the students, a lot more people came up to us with their concerns, and we're super thankful to those who voiced out how else we can improve as Sanggunian and how we can all better serve them. As we're continuously using this feedback to help improve the systems that we have, and of course meet the students where they are now more than ever, because it's so difficult na to reach them, but we're continuously evolving and trying new ways to reach people. Ayun nga, creating a better environment for everyone, lalo na ang dami sa ating naapektuhan ng pandemya, hindi lang tayo as students but also the professors, different administrations, and all overall the Ateneo community.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really it's our whole community going through this. I think that's something important to acknowledge, regardless of disagreements we may have or misunderstandings we may have encountered. At the end of the day, the impact of the pandemic is still on all of us, and how we deal with each other is really intertwined, no? So today we have actually special guests, no? So hindi lang kaming mga nasa poster yung mag-feature. Host lang po kami. Actually, the meat of the discussion will come from our school representatives, no? So we have Cecilia Cancio, and Enza Kimson from SOSE. Cecilia is from SOM. Matt Rodriguez from SOH. And from the School of Social Sciences, TJ will appear in another episode. We actually have Bern and Chloe Oteza from the Deputies Chiefs of Staff units. And lastly, we have Angelo and Danny, our Chiefs of Staff from the OVP and the Office of the President. So everyone say hello. Hello. Yeah, they were waving. I will wave also.
Greetings of peace.
Yes. So now,
Kamusta kayo?
do we start with the Q&A, Kat? Tama ba?
Before Q&A, let's ask them. Let's ask them before the questions are started that were submitted to us. Well, how have you guys been? So we're less than a month, before this quarter ends. How are the feelings going on? Ooh. I can see it in your faces, guys. May mag-react ba dyan? Yeah, go, Matt.
Okay, since my term, I've been waiting for this moment. I rarely get these publicity opportunities in my 2 years as SOREP. But since my term is ending, I would like to be on record, especially because my term is ending. I would like to be on record saying to the public, anime and manga are bad. Controversial? I suppose so. Is it worth getting canceled for? Yes. But these are the strong opinions that we need to have as leaders. It's bad. Okay, that's how I've been.
So you've been bad because you watch those. Yun ba yun, Matt?
No, but I'm trying to start a campaign against it. That's the post-Sangu career
agenda.
path.
Okay.
Yes, agenda. Perfect.
It's a very
Smart.
Sangu word, no?
How about the others?
Just want to share how tired you are? Assumed eh. Or...
Come on, guys. Di ba pinaglaban natin to? Tawa kayo dyan. Bilis. Ano yung feelings nyo? Ayan, Danny, kanina ka tumatawa.
Okay, I'll call Danny. Danny, how are you?
I'm tired.
You're tired?
I want to sleep for a year. So that's my post-tango career, sleeping. My requirements, there's still requirements. They're not finishing themselves. And after this, I have a synchronous group meeting. So shout out po sa post 194 group ko. I'll see you guys later at 9.
Okay.
Thank you.
We love
I
that.
think where Danny is at is like where most of the students are. You know? Yeah. Last siguro, Bern, how are you?
I'm doing fine naman. Pero, still generally excited for the next school year. Kasi yes, it's finally over.
Yeah. There's still a lot of things to look forward to.
I feel the freshy energy pa. Love you,
Pala,
Bern.
kasi Bern
Keep
is
that up.
Our freshies. I feel so not
Rejuvenate.
freshy anymore. Yeah, I'm old. I call myself old. No. Siguro, we could, we could go to the meat of the discussion, Kat.
Yep. So what now that we know how everyone has been, which is, relatively which is okay. Let's look back at how things have been, guys. It's been I think 1 year na since we stepped into the position. So looking back, we want to know what's one project that you are most proud of during your term.
Siguro, we could start with the school sanggunians, no? So, by the order of the letters, J, G, SOM. Sa ordering kasi, bakit second si SOM, may J siya, di ba? So parang, Cecilia, any projects that you've been most proud of, siguro, looking back to the experience?
Yes, one of these projects would be it just concluded. It would be tayo creating shared value. Yeah, it's one of these projects.
Yeah. Tayo created shared value, just finished, right? If I'm
Mhm.
not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you want to share what was the goal of the project and how it helped JG Song students?
Well, so the goal of the project was to promote SMEs, particularly those being operated by students.
Hmm.
And we wanted to provide students with a platform to help, promote their businesses and to facilitate interest from the student body in these different entrepreneurial initiatives that many of our constituents have been pursuing.
Yeah, actually, like looking back to the pandemic, that's one of the trends or patterns that we've seen. No? More students venturing into business. No? Some
It's so
just to make
hard.
ends meet. No, that's hard. No, Kat. You should
Mm-mm.
know.
I did sign up because I was so busy with Sangu. I was supposed to for my thesis, but whew, good job though. I saw ang ganda ng pubs. I hope na
Yes.
parang
Content
the
power.
startups were able to benefit from the project that you guys initiated as well. We love that. Let's go some. Who's after some? Di ba? Or you wanna ask more, JB?
No. SOH is next.
Yeah. Let's go, Matt.
Speaking of business, my favorite was the it was a long name. The free tickets thing. The free tickets program, CA Bill number 5, series 2019-2020. Because speaking of business, it's free. Why is it my favorite? Because when I was a child in the university, I had a dream. Uh, no, I was surrounded by all these people complaining. Why are these tickets so expensive? It has to be required before I watch theater. So I thought, no, I dreamed that my humanities government would care about me. And then, well, basically, someone would pay for me. Someone would spot me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, all the Soreps before me. Okay, I'm not gonna. Okay, that could be phrased better. I was the Sorep who would have to do that to fulfill my own dreams. Yeah. So this is my favorite.
Matt,
because
how
it's
did that
cool.
transition
It's
in
like,
a pandemic? Like, did you venture into
was-
sponsoring virtual prods or?
Ooh, the spicy questions. It was a lot more successful on site because the procedures for
Yeah.
like financial stuff, the bureaucracies were a lot more
Tolerable.
yeah, like we were just familiar with it. But then when it became online,
Mm-mm.
a lot of things changed. The tickets had like these serial numbers or something, and they all had different platforms to buy to get tickets from or to redeem them. Versus before where they actually have like printed tickets. All you have to do is like send them the money, they give you the tickets in bulk, and then you just you let it fly.
You give it
But you need
away,
their
no?
names, of course. Yeah. But admittedly, saw Sangu wasn't able to do that this year. But our compromise was the CA Bill number 6, series of 2019 to 2020, the theater reparations, what do you call those bills, legislation. Act pala, act. So we wanted to help them pay for like their expenses from last year and this year. So yeah, instead of buying tickets, we try to help them recover from the past expenses while also
Grabe rin
looking
kasi
very pogi.
yung
Oh yeah,
impact, di ba, ng pandemic to the theater orgs. If
Mm-mm.
you
yes.
remember.
It was right on the periods when they were supposed to be showing pa eh, diba?
Yeah, I remember. Actually bought a ticket. I didn't get to... And then nagamit ko naman. Tapos nag-COVID bigla. Buti nagamit ko yung ticket. Di ba? Parang,
You
yeah.
remember how it wasn't shown, but you don't remember the show, and that's why people should watch the theater so they know what happens in the show.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, sorry, I cut you off.
But yeah, it
No,
was
it's
a
okay,
great
man.
start. I think it was one of the great things that started the shift to online, because everyone was still struggling, and it was one of the first things that us as a student government could come in and help our community adjust to the current setups, diba? Yan. Okay,
Okay.
so um I think there was a couple of projects that really showed how Sangu has really been one of an organization that uplifts others. That's really there, who uplifts and sheds light into certain things that aren't being talked about. So I think one way to ask siguro also is, I think Matt had a know with it now, but one question to start that I want to get to know you guys. These things that you've highlighted, are they one of the reasons why you joined Sangu? Or if not, parang what are some reasons why you joined Sangu?
Maybe we could continue the order, Kat, no?
Oh yeah,
Parang
yeah, yeah. Go.
after Sose. Sose is next, siguro. Enza.
Hi
Maybe look
everyone.
back to why you joined Sangu this
Um,
year.
Say the real
okay.
reason. Well,
The real reason, pwede naman. Because I mean, I think the other electeds know this, but coming into Ateneo as a transferee, mahirap talaga yung process of being a transfer in Ateneo. So when the first year, I think Kat was the one Kat is my FASI pala, my student FASI for Intact. Kat was the one in the booth, and she was like, join guys and stuff. And coming from student council yun in high school, as a person, like, I always find things like I like to complain. Like, I like to say that this could be better. This could be done better for the students. This could be done better for the other stakeholders. So yun yung the main reason I joined Sangu. I wanted to have a space wherein you can use that like negative energy siguro of complaining into something positive, into something that's fruitful instead of just complaining into echo chambers. Pero I guess that's another point of debate. But then, ayun, I really joined Sangu to not just better I guess try to help students to have a better place in Ateneo, but also to kind of just, it also was like a personal thing that I did not want to start my journey in Ateneo like super negative, right? So I was like, you know what, join Sangu. It could be like another avenue for me to learn some new things. And ngayon, Sangu, student government, I really like sec work. And that was the first thing I joined. So, like it was the thing that, like if once ACADS get stressful, I could have Sangu like as a thing that I could break from ACADS. Kasi science, parang, I need a break from this. Sometimes it gets hard. So, yeah, yun.
what happens when Sangu work gets hard? Okay, so tawa na lang. Okay. Got
Maybe I
that.
could ask sila Bern and Chloe, di ba? You're freshies, right? When you joined Sangu, not really experiencing an on-site experience. And Sangu, and this is something I acknowledge as its president, it's very hard to navigate even as a member, di ba? Parang, what was the experience like for you guys? And looking back to the reason why you joined, parang worth it ba siya? With
Wow.
how it was for you this year?
Yeah, generally naman, it's a difficult experience, lalo na online, freshie, hindi pa ako nakakapunta sa Ateneo in person. Pero it's it's the same reason that it makes the work kind of worth it. Like if you don't struggle for it, how are you supposed to enjoy what you've already done? So, yun, ikaw, Chloe.
Pinasa talaga sa akin eh, no?
Syempre.
Pero, okay, sige. So, ano ba? Sige, let's start na lang dun sa first season ko. Okay, super cheesy neto, pero kasi ever since grade school, gusto kong makasama sa student council. Pero sa takot ko, never ko talaga siyang ginawa. As in, never akong tumakbo. Tapos as in, nagkaroon ng time na sa akin na, naka-fill in na yung COC ko. Pero I never submitted it kasi takot ako. So ayun, sinabi ko, sige, college, first year, walang nakakakilala sa akin, sige, go na. Tapos, ano ba, worth it naman. And ayun nga, parang, as Bern said nga, hindi nga kami nakapunta sa campus and all. Parang, this is our way na rin of parang connecting to the Ateneo community. Oh, maganda ba yung sagot na yan?
Yeah, now all of LS is watching you right now.
Yeah. Yun lang.
I love that.
Thank you.
Ang ganda. Parang
Super
my
proud
way.
of our
Oo.
friends. Yeah.
My
Okay.
way of connecting with my community. Ganda.
Yun. Siguro to end this first segment on the good. Kasi again, the title of this first episode is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Siyempre, dapat holistic and comprehensive, di ba? So, ang susunod natin is our two chiefs of staff from the OVP and the Office of the President. So, these are people I've worked before with, and I know they are very hardworking people. Si Angelo Fabro and Danny Andres. Say hello, Angelo and Danny.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, for taking
So,
the floor.
maybe to end this segment siguro, maybe explain to the viewers na lang din what it's like to be a chief of staff, no? Kasi I guess the title seems so parang chief of staff, no? Parang if you look to our orgs, parang wala namang ganung may title. And I guess related na lang din to what your office does. Kasi I think if you're a student watching this for the first time and you don't really know Sanggu, you're hearing so many terminologies that seem so foreign. Parang school representative, office, president, parang sanggunian this and sanggunian that. Parang what distinguishes your work from Danny's work, no? Parang what distinguishes the office of the president and the office of the vice president.
Also to contextualize that you guys have the highest trust positions in the organization.
Okay, sige. Pero kasi parang two-pronged yung tanong mo eh, no? So, what is it like being a chief of staff? Saka, what is the difference of the OVP chief of staff and the OP chief of staff?
More of OP work and OVP work.
Okay.
Parang you would know what that looks like, right?
So sige, first, I'll answer na lang muna yung difference ng OP saka OVP. So OP kasi, Office of the President. So that's JB.
Wow. Talaga?
Oo. Anyway, kasi yung OP, ginupo siya ng cabinet, the President's cabinet. So, papasok sa isip yung Department of Budget and Management, Commission on Gender Equality, CAS-MV, and siguro ang primary distinguishing factor ng OPI, project-based sila, or they're more visible to the student body. The President acts through the cabinet. And therefore, yung trabaho ni Danny as the Chief of Staff is to oversee lahat ng pagtatrabaho ng mga gumagalaw na yon. At napaka-visible, napaka-external ng trabaho ng OP. Pero when contrasted to OVP, OVP naman kasi is more internal, which comes from the VP's mandate in the Constitution na the VP oversees the internal affairs of the Sanggunian. Kaya yun din, ang trabaho ko naman, hindi siya masyadong external and it's more internal. So, parang HR, ganun, taking care of systems and processes in the Sanggu. That's a difference. Okay, so that's question number 1. Question number 2, what is it like being a chief of staff? Danny, sasagutin mo din to. Pero, what's it like? to be honest, I don't want to sound mean, pero para kang sumasalo ng trabaho. For context din kasi, before I became chief of staff of OVP, I was chief of staff of another department before. And then I became chief of staff of OVP. And nung panahon na yon, wala akong team. Ako lang. So ako lang yung chief of staff. I am the chief of staff, but I have no staff. And that's something that that's something that Kat wants to change. Pero yun nga, that's something that, it's hard to do work. Like for example, taking down minutes, organizing files, when ikaw lang ang gumagawa. Hopefully, Danny can talk more about what it's like having a staff. Also, Danny,
I'm sorry, Fabro. I love you.
I think a nice word to describe chiefs of staff is in one word, slavery. Because you're unpaid. And most importantly, you're also sometimes underappreciated. So to enter this job is a risk because if you find your self-loving, self-esteem, go for it. But then if you don't and you're tired, go away. Sorry. But to talk about it more in a more maayos na way. Fabro's right, as OP, there are 12 different units, and thankfully when JB came in, there was now a difference between support units. So those are units who have defined processes, like Department of Budget and Management, who handles the budget. So to Ma'am Valerie, if you're watching this, sorry po if hindi po nagagastos yung PST budget. And we also have Department of Communications, who handles the Sangu that you see. That's one of facets of their jobs. And then the team that I'm currently, my staff, Amen, Presidential Support Team, or as I like to call it, Presidential Slavery. Because we all, as JB once mentioned when he gave me this position, chiefs of staff serve at the pleasure of the president. But then it's not all pleasure. So not all fun. So of course, there's also times na you answer emails, the Sanggunian email. So once you send an email to Sanggu, more often than not, it goes through our team. When you also need documents, requesting of documents, most of the Office of the President documents have been uploaded to the our Sanggu website. So if you're interested, please check it out. You'll find their minutes of different units, the decks or PowerPoints, the memos, and cabinet meetings. So if you want to read through to our transcriptions of meetings, please go ahead. Good luck. We transcribe that with our blood, sweat, and tears. And then aside from that, there's also what JB has been spearheading, our manuals. So when in interim, that has been an advocacy of outlining unit structures, the definition of roles. So manuals was a way for us to really define, because yun nga, chiefs of staff when you first entered, it was just literally slavery. But at least now, meron ng defined responsibilities. So wala nga lang working hours, I'm sorry, but then meron nga lang what you can do, what to expect on the role. And then aside from that was also the key then is the development of secretariats. Yan. And then so the difference between OP and OVP work, honestly, even in OP, hati rin kami ni JD sa work. So he handles yung mga external work, and I handle, as nakasulat nga sa PST manual, ensuring his day-to-day workflow and smooth inter-unit coordination, whatever that means. So it means checking his schedule and going to his different meetings. So in short, slavery. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fabro and Danny, for sharing. Alam mo naman, parang your sharings, the way we've been talking about the good, it's really like, oh, we joined Sanggu because we wanted to make change. We wanted to serve the communities we're in. And I think Fabro and Danny's sharings are the reality of what Sanggu really is about at the end of the day. The ones that aren't being talked about when we publicize things. The ones that are hidden behind the scenes, na at the end of the day, ang makikita nyo, yung mga projects na linalabas namin para sa student community, but the reality behind it is that we have very hardworking chiefs of staffs that we, the elected representatives, can lean on, because for real, it's hard without them. We love you, chiefs of staffs. So moving on to the bad segment of today, which yun nga, is the perfect transition from their sharing. As the systems that we've done, all of the processes and day-to-day operations that we went through, it's not perfect. Kasi at the end of the day, tao rin naman kaming lahat, diba? We all make mistakes, and in those mistakes, there are some things that have affected more than we initially planned, right? So there are challenges and the different unique experiences that we all went through this year, especially with the shift to the online setup. So one of the first discussions, or our first question for this point, is what's our thoughts, or what are our elected representatives' thoughts on the succession of the roles and responsibilities, especially since there was no elections, there were no transitions or proper transitions that were done from the previous year, and everyone had to scramble all of a sudden. Actually, I want to ask JB first, because I think only in the Constitution is it outlined na siya yung magsasucceed, right? Because as far as I know, walang list for, let's say, vice president. Parang, yeah, ayon. So JV, how was it? How did you know? Wow.
Yeah, actually, I'll contextualize na rin and give way to the answers of the others. Kasi like what Kat said, ako lang talaga yung set na maging next. Parang who would be the next VP and the next school reps. That was all from the whim, no? So it was really thinking on our feet and inventing new processes that weren't invented before. Kasi for instance, and sila yung susunod kong tatawagin, di ba? Sila Cecilia, sila Enza, except Matt, who was elected with me 2 years ago. And not 2 years ago, or 1. See, I'm not even sure. But 2, okay? But then, they were appointed to the role, no? And that was a new process that was invented within the year. So really, it was a lot of sudden changes just to ensure that we continue to provide student service now. Kasi to begin with, we didn't know that the interim period would be this long. We actually thought that there will be elections August 2020. And right now, what month is it? It's almost September. It's May, di ba? Malapit na. Yun na, malapit na bare months, di ba? So parang, that's my point, no? Yeah. So to those who got appointed to the role, parang, do you have any thoughts?
I can start. Wow, itong VP. I think it was one of the firsts kasi, because we had to ascertain who of the elected representatives was going to step up, and then susunod-sunod na yung processes for appointment. I remember last year, our school reps were talking na parang, guys, sino aakit sa atin? That was the tone pa last year. And then when JB prepared everything, there was an application form and everything, and then we were all wondering why we all had to apply rather than just those who wanted to apply. Pero everyone still went through the process, but I think in the school reps chat, we were sharing to each other the blunders that we said during the panel interview after JB's appointment. Some people were saying na nga, it was gonna be me kasi nga my personality is very atat. And I was the only one with legitimate course reps that could rise up. So not just, let's say, me as a person and my work ethic, but also because I had course reps under me. So ayun nga, when I got appointed, I was just like, I don't know what the VP does. Because for the longest time, there wasn't really a clear precedent on what the VP's role was, because even in the consti, it just stated CA and other matters the president wants to do or wants to give the VP. So parang even when I ascended already to the VP role, I was trying to find my place in the VP area, not just for CA, but in the bigger scope of things. That's why JB and I had a lot of one-on-ones also, trying to find the spaces that we could best work in. And now we're here together. So, ayun. Oh, yan. Enza, Cecilia. Oh, Matt, be comment. Go.
Yes. Have you, to the viewers, have you ever had orals and then there were like other people in the room? Imagine orals but then the entire university is watching you. That's what it felt like, and there was no way to prepare. Uh, I remember. I didn't even. It was such a weird thing that one of us could be promoted. Um, but I remember one of the questions I just passed. Like I said, could I just go to the next question? They had some really whack, like you come into this position thinking about your own, like 1/4 of the school, and then they tell you, and then they ask you this question, like this council of elders that's deliberating on who will be the next vice president. They ask, like, what are your plans should you for the school should you become vice president? The hell would I know? I always plan for School of Humanities. I don't know if I can say that, but yeah, I mean, honestly, how would we come up with plans like spur of the moment? And I don't know what the other schools need. I mean not like I'm indifferent. It's more of I don't know how to serve everyone. I don't know if the other reps felt the same way. I mean, because it's a different set than before now. I remember it was Cecilia and Enzo weren't with us yet. I was the only one who did not get promoted amongst all the top 6. I remained in the same position. Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. I
I
think you
bombed
found
that.
your space. Yeah, I agree. In a good way. In a good way. You bombed it in a good way. Oh, Enza, Cecilia,
I can go, I think.
I'll go.
Well, going off of JB's question, like, what were our expectations coming? Akala ko talaga, I was just there to hold over sauce until the next elections. But then, ayun nga, like, it didn't happen. Ang daming nangyari. And then the context when was very different. So, of course, we had to contextualize to the students. And yeah, I really thought I would be here. I was like, you know what, 2 months max. Like, okay na yan. Pero alis na tayo pagkatapos nun. But, ayun, it did not happen. I'm still here, like almost 1 year. And actually, when I got appointed, it was around my birthday. And it was September. And LA was like, ayos yung gift ko sa'yo. And I was like, LA, anong gift to? Parang ang daming responsibility. But ayun, shout out to LA. He was my representative when I was a chief of staff. So yeah, I guess the biggest shift was like what Fabra and Danny said. A lot of chief of staff work is very internal, and then ayun, na-shift ako into someone that's very public. And my friends know this. I think Kat also knows this. I'm very shy. Like, it's not something that I'm very like, oh, like I'll talk to a lot of people, and yun nga, my work is tech work. And so it was a big shift for me. And yeah, but then I have my co-appointee, si Ma'am Cecilia. So I've been asking her for a lot of help, and we've been kind of going along the same journey, I guess, as appointed school reps. So I'll turn it over to her. Yeah.
Are you gonna raise something, Cecilia? No, na. All right. So, as we can see, everyone here more or less faced a challenge while stepping up and transitioning as well into their new roles. And while we were all finding our spaces in these new roles, we also had new challenges and challenges us as Sangu faced in engaging with the students. Throughout the year, what do you think were some of the biggest challenges, like being Sangu has faced? Us as Sangu have faced yon in engaging with the students? Any thoughts? I can raise one. Well, for me, one, the CA kasi never really had what do you call this? A public front, I think. We were all trying to grasp the proper legislative procedures. We were still drafting a proper set all while things were going on. And finally, when we thought that we had a certain flow in the Central Assembly, did something as big as the one big strike fell into our hands, into our scope of influence. And for the first time, I think the CA was put in such a position. And in line with that, everyone had different expectations of how things would go. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges that not just me as the VP, but everyone at Sangguniang faced. Because I think while we were all transitioning into our new roles, we were also trying to support the students in the transition to the online setup. So while with a focus on the academic side, so while we were focusing so much on the academic shift, I think a portion of us kind of forgot the other aspects of being a student and the current setup, which is the fact that we're doing all of these at home, which presented a new set of challenges, and it eventually erupted in the movement such as One Big Strike. So when it came to our hands, it was a really big challenge because we didn't know what to do. I'm going to say that now. We didn't know what to do because it was a big thing, a new thing, and an online thing. No longer could we just easily reach out to converse with these people. It wasn't as easy as before per se. So yeah, the online setup, the expectations, the different interests at hand. Because I remember that at that point, it was also sunod-sunod na typhoon that brought about it. So there was different levels of urgencies with different interests being forwarded in the table. And that, I think I remember at the end of that first CE meeting, I said, guys, running political meetings are different from running business meetings. And moving forward, I was like, it's time to learn. And I think I did. Well, okay, ayan, that was me. Kayo, what was your, how did you process through it? How were things handled on your ends and perspectives?
We need to go, Angelo. You raised your hand.
Yes, hello, Teka. Let's just remove the hand. Okay. The question is, diba, how did we process the year, no? And what you could have...
What challenges I faced?
Well, as someone from OVP and someone who focuses on the internal side of Sanggu, siguro one thing that I can note is the sheer number of resignations and leaves of absences that Sanggu has had in the past SEM, and even taking into consideration the whole year. And I think that says a lot about something that we have to improve on in terms of internals. More specifically in terms of how to manage the workload of our members, how to make our members feel like their work is valued, and how to make members feel like there's someone here in Sanggu for them, not just making Sanggu seem like work, but rather like a community talaga for them. So I think that's something that was a challenge for Sanggu in general. Maintaining the relationship with members.
Hirap rin with the online setup no?
Yeah. I guess that's something that not just Sanggu, but then members of the community faced in their orgs and even in their groups, diba? Group work is still something that's very difficult, especially in an online setting, no? So actually, ang dami ang laman na ng discussion, no? But then we'll just take a short break to handle some back-end matters, plus to give you viewers time to get some water also or take a short break. So we'll be coming back with the next and last segments on the ugly and redemption. See you.
Hey Katipuneros, don't change that dial because we'll be coming right back. We are now on YouTube. Watch all of our live episodes plus exclusive content in our channel at Radyo Katipunan FM. Don't forget to click subscribe and hit the bell to get the latest updates. Radyo Katipunan is now online. See our live feed on facebook.com/Radyo Katipunan. Check out our Instagram and our Twitter at Radyo Katipunan and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Radyo Katipunan FM for more exclusive content. Follow at Radyo Katipunan in our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter.
SSS, sabihin sa sanggo. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa sanggo. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa sanggo.
Do you have concerns or problems about the school? Pag may problema, huwag mag-alala. Sabihin sa Sanggu is back to help students address and bridge different concerns. The form is now available via oursangu.com/SSS. Simply fill out all the needed information and you're done. You may view the progress of your concern in the school trackers. Don't forget to check your email in case of clarifications from the team.
SSS, sabihin sa sanggo. SSS, sabihin sa sanggo. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa sanggo. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa sanggo.
So, yes, Kat, we can proceed to the next segment.
We love that. All right. So, looking at what we've talked about so far, so we've talked about the good, which are the projects we've been so proud of with the past year, the things that we've done. We've also looked at the different challenges Sanggu has faced and also us as reps throughout stepping up through the transition and the different student engagement challenges we've had for the past. Now, let's talk about the ugly, which is a fun, I would say, wow, chika minute na talaga. Hala. We're getting into the meat of the discussion. So this ugly segment is actually to talk about sensitive things that we don't really talk about in Sanggu, because I think as well that there's certain expectations and images that people have in this role, to the point where I would go so far as to say that students forget that we are students too at the end of the day. So to start off the discussion for the ugly, I'd like to ask our first question, which is, what are certain expectations that people have of you stepping into the role? Yan, sakto. We talked about stepping up last in the last segment, diba? So, yeah, stepping into the role.
Share?
I'll go,
Yeah.
Enza.
So coming into this role, I think it's given I guess the constituents I represent, very demanding. Very demanding ang courses. Madaming kailangan na we rely on labs. We really rely on lectures that wherein our skills need to be honed. And this setup has really, I don't want to kind of undermine the struggles of the other schools, pero parang talaga SOSE yung parang nalaleft out in a lot of the things that's happening. Like even the synchronous sessions, palaging kailangan may nuances for SOSE. So stepping into this role, I think people expect me to know everything, kind of like everything I need to like lobby for. And of course, given na wala akong course reps, I don't have anyone to talk to, and talagang I really had to rely on the home orgs, and shout out to them for being super G to just hold discussions via chat and all of that. So I'm super thankful for them. But ayun, I think what people really expected me is to know what they want. Pero I can't just, like being an appointed, it's hard to gauge rin because obviously you weren't elected, you were just appointed, right? And during the appointment, while there was an avenue for people to ask questions for me, wala naman and ayun, engagement yun talagang worry. Kasi in order for an office to work, it has to be in constant communication with the constituents. So, ayun, SOSE came under a lot of criticism, SOSE Sanggu mismo, and that really affected my members. And as an elected, you're very protective of the people that you work with. And I was actually during the time of the strike. There was that whole I guess argument, scholars, SOSE, and all of that. And it was hard to kind of tackle that in a very objective way. And ayun, given nga, so I really went back to the nature of SOSE, which is yon data. But ayun, that's what I learned. It's never just about the numbers. I think we also need to consider a lot of the nuances that people have gone through this setting. And so I guess but ayun, I really relied then on my team, and that's why I'm very protective of them. Like once the whole thing about the strike got to them, it was almost like, oh, ako na lang sasalo kasi ayoko na muna silang. Kasi it was the storm, and a lot of my members then got affected by that. So coming into this, like I did not expect to be very maternal over my team, but I think coming out, that's what's happened, and very grateful and very proud of everyone in the team. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Can
And
I build off
yeah,
from what
go.
Enza said? I like what she said because I guess it reveals the human aspect of Sanggu and of any institution. And we speak naman here siguro, not saying we're perfect. In fact, at this point of the show, diba, it's really about being vulnerable also to what we've gone through and the challenges that Sanggu faces. Because the challenges that Sanggu faces ultimately depends on the challenges the student body faces. No? So they're not actually mutually exclusive. And I guess that's what people forget also. Sanggu is not in control of the school and of the world that we live in. But to the best of its ability, it will try. But of course, it's also about meeting people halfway. No? And though we try to meet people where they are, it's also hard because going into the pandemic, while Sanggu was one of the first orgs to actually transition online, di ba? We started with online protests because if you remember, that's when the ABS-CBN shutdown happened. Then the terror law discussions, di ba?
The subsidies also.
Yeah, parang Sanggu was never the perfect institution to begin with. As a matter of fact, the voter turnout this year, I think, is the highest that we've faced. That's driving home the point that at the end of the day, Sanggu is constantly trying to improve itself while facing harder crises. Diba? So, yun, just to put things to perspective also. And that's the ugly reality that we need to confront ourselves with. Diba?
That's so true. I remember coming into second sem JB, we had like a heart to heart checking in on each other na parang, oh, kamusta? Buhay pa ba? Like we're entering second sem, how do you feel about our first sem together after the strike? And parang both of us were really saying, ang hirap, parang moving forward, seeing everyone's comments about Sanggu, about the way that we handled everything, like it was so hard and nakaka-trauma siya to an extent because I think I remember when we were facilitating naman the ano yun, yung asks to delay the start of the fourth quarter. That was a 2-3 week work if I'm not mistaken. And I think all of us had flashbacks of the first semester strike where we were already worried na our students gonna say this about us. We need to keep them updated. We need to do this. Like we really tried to remedy all the mistakes that the students pointed out in the first sem. And though we would reassure each other, I'm pretty sure like deep inside, it's like who and at one point ata when I read like Freedom Walls, people were saying na Sanggu parang ano just like the Philippine government not doing anything ganyan, and I'm just there like we're students. Like we're not paid for these things, but parang in the best of our abilities, we still try to, continue to serve. We still try to consult with everyone to get the voices to be heard to the admin and push, like, yeah. Yeah, yun. Ikaw, JB, unmuted. You wanted to say something on that note?
No. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Hanggang 2 a.m. ata tayo nag-uusap that one Holy Week ba yun? I think most of, if not all
Yeah,
of
that was
us
on
were
COVID
there.
care. That was on COVID care. Yeah.
Mm-mm. That was so hard. Does anyone want to share on that point, Matt?
I resonate with Enza said you kind of expected to know so much. That's the number one thing. You go, people kind of expect you to have all the answers. I was blessed to have 2 years because like my first year, I didn't know anything. I was running on a dream, almost literally. And I just wanted some. There were just some ideas I had, and I thought when I ran, I'll figure it out. But it was a lot harder than just saying that. But another thing was capitalism aside, Steve Jobs said, uh, "The people don't know what they want until you show it to them." So similarly, the students, the people you serve, um, they want you to change some. They want something made better, but they just not to their fault. What they expect from you is that you know how to do it. That was the biggest challenge that I still faced my entire 2 years. Like So has to be, it's not just Sosango, So has to be better somehow. But like, how am I supposed to do that? But I guess the number one approach was just the way that going back to the people, like humanities people aren't like, first of all, the leaders of Saw have to be like Saw. They have to come from Saw, and Saw just isn't the stiff type people. We're not very paperwork people. You know what I mean? Uh, Saw Sangu had to be like some dude you find in Arete, talking passionately about some random niche. That's what I felt was expected of me, I think. And that's what I think I became, because I was a very different Saw rep in first year. I was trying to be like everyone else. I was trying to be like the other school reps who were so dignified, and like it's like they were wearing invisible suits, always so like they always knew what to say. They always had big words, and I just had to sit there. But then after the first year, I felt it was an opportunity when I was asked if I could step up again, because it's like still a tall order. But then I thought I kind of figured this out now. I had to make some actual changes. So I think it was very rewarding that it turned out to work. There's a big shift in the branding of Soft, you notice, between 2019 to 2021, where we started becoming the second best meme org next to Bluebird Improv. Shout out to Bluebird Improv. But yeah, if people will notice that our branding is very different from the rest of Sangu. It's so memey. It has all these funny things and jokes and references. But it worked because our constituency are like engagement,
that. Mm-mm.
it went up so much, and people were starting to talk about us, whether for better or for worse. We were being talked about more like, what the heck is that? Who thought of this? But that was the point. It made people think about like it got people's attention, but also I noticed humanities people were a lot, well, not all, but a lot more were feeling excited to identify with this sort of leadership. And it was something that made it a lot more fun for me, even if it was really challenging. Yeah, like it's still hard. It doesn't get easier, but I was able to make the Sauce Sango experience fun. And it also carried over internally to my people. Like we were all, like, even if we say on paper we're a hierarchical structure, everyone's always just bantering with each other. It doesn't feel like work. The meetings extend. People don't mind because it's like just it's just whatever. Yeah. The rules said no ranting. Sorry. Yeah. Coolio.
Yeah. That's great to hear, Matt. Like you had a really positive disposition amidst parang the mistakes that you considered you made. And I think that's really the mindset that you're forced to learn in Sangu in some ways na, oh, I made a mistake, but I need to do better because I have people who are counting on me. And in that need to do better, you think of more ways, you consult with more people, and the solution becomes so much more better. Basta better than what you originally planned, simply because there's more people thinking about it. And ultimately nga, parang you're making all of these things with more people. Ayun, parang co-creation siya. So it actually answers parang the next is question na, how do we do better as a community moving forward, right? JB? Mm.
Sila daw. No, actually, I want the guests to answer more, no? But then, can I pick up from what Matt said?
Yeah.
Then I could use that to,
Mm-mm.
what could we do better as a community? Something Matt said was parang he went out of the stereotype people set on him.
The
And I
expectations.
and the
Mm-mm.
expectation, it's more, kasi parang, what do people actually expect from Sanggu? Yun siguro yung kailangan nating i-assess din. And what do we expect of ourselves also? It should always be a two-way thing.
Mm-mm. Meeting in the
And
middle.
yeah, meeting in that's the ideal naman talaga, di ba? We meet in the middle. But of course, at the end of the day, Sanggu has the capacity to reach out more. So it will try to the best of its ability. But then when it cannot, no, then we just need to be very open with that. And from what Matt said, kasi parang what they did and saw was to just realize who they truly were and be strong with their identity. Not really minding too
Conforming.
much what the others were and not conforming to a certain blanket expectation. And I think it did well, no? I guess that's the challenge for Sanggu and even us as students, diba, in our orgs. Yeah.
That's very true. How about the others also? Parang how did you uh conquer the things you've done? How do you think we can do better as a community moving forward as well? Reflecting on our vulnerabilities as people and always pursuing that growth mindset. Like Cecilia, Bern, Chloe, any sharings, Danny, Fabro? Mag-unmute ba yan? Any.
Hello.
Go,
Maybe
Bern.
Chloe and I can go.
Yes, go.
Just an observation, a general observation. I think what we could have done better is taking care of our members. Like, personally naman kasi, hindi naman ako yung sauce rep. So, parang hindi ko naman masabi kung have I taken care of my members? Pero, in a general sense, it is so hard to be available. Like, I'm not judging TJ here, pero it is kind of hard to be an available person pero it is not difficult to be a human being. Like, we often forget that in our everyday ginagawa sa Sanggu, na tao nga rin pala tayo and tao rin yung mga tao natin. So parang I really hope na the best, well, not really the best, one of the things that we could have done is taking care of our members, because how do we expect our people to work for the people if they don't feel like people themselves? Ayun lang. Maybe Chloe, you have something to add?
Thanks, Bern.
Meron dapat pero nakalimutan ko eh. Ano ba? Yun, actually, we have the same sentiments naman with Bern. Sige, I think naman that we can put it out a bit. Pero, ayun nga, dealing with burnout, lalo na in Sanggu, given that there's a lot of expectations na siniset sa atin, na, alam mo yung parang we're expected to be grown-ups, to be more mature, to know what is best for the community, kahit tayo naman mismo. We're all adjusting talaga and we don't know what to do. Parang sa dami ng expectations na siniset sa'yo ng ibang tao, and also your expectations on yourself, it becomes draining to the point na like kunyari sa Sanggu. Ayun nga, maraming naglolowa, ang daming bigla na lang umaalis, or minsan nga as in hindi na lang sila nagpaparamdam at all. Yung parang biglang, ay, nasa na siya? Wala na. Ayun, parang it's very easy for us to lose ourselves. And it's, I think, one of the best things that we can do is to understand each other. Hindi lang to help ourselves and to become available and to know that we are human beings, but also, ayun nga, parang to know our limits and to understand, for the sauce community to understand where the people are coming from. And also, sana din, the community knows that we're only students. We know, sana they know that they're, ano ba, basta sila, parang they are in our minds naman. And, ayun, I think it's just mutual na tulungan lang talaga. That's the only thing that will push us talaga forward, lalo na that the pandemic still here. Online pa rin tayo next year. And ayun, I think naman that since ito na yung nangyari sa atin ngayon, we can improve from here and do our best na lang to become a better Sanggu and become a better community. Yes.
Thanks, Chloe and Bern. Really like what they said, no? Danny, would you like to share?
I actually like what sila Bern and Chloe said on member wellness, because I actually came from an IC and then they were talking to me about the importance of member wellness, and it's something that always been close to my heart, which is ironic because I don't care for my own wellness, but then I care for other people's wellness. But then on the plus side kasi, Sanggu is only as strong as our members. So and in OP kasi, it's hard to get lost in the great jungle that it is. Imagine your 200 plus members. So sometimes I don't know if all 200 plus members are still active or they're still doing okay. The only times I can talk to them is on the fly messages. But then, kaya I think that thing has to be strengthened in following years. While there has been foundations for it, it's only just the first steps towards a stronger sanggunian. And aside from that, another point that I'd like to tackle is my favorite, sanggunian bureaucracy, like the different processes that we have. Admittedly, I am a bureaucrat, and I'd like to blame one Jameson W. Beharin for that. But then, when I look at it and when I review it, it makes me realize this won't work because there are certain processes that depend on people. But then what if these people like burn out? What will happen to the process, to the institution itself? Will it also collapse? So these are the questions that I have at 3 a.m. but have no answer to. That is why I will put it out here in the void. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Well, all of your concerns very valid, and as someone who's been spearheading, of course, internal efforts, that's something we found super difficult. Na it cannot be centralized. It really has to be a decentralized effort from the leaders who choose to step up. Because, like what Bern said, na parang it's difficult to be available, but I think for the leaders who step up, they are the ones who have to make themselves available because they are responsible in nurturing the people they're journeying with nga, diba? And it's part of, let's say, the recommendations we're doing for the next admin. But very, very important ang engagement and wellness and taking care and nurturing, lalo na in this online setup. Diba, JP?
Yes. It's almost 8, so I'll be wrapping our program up. No? We started first with discussing the good, and then we discussed the bad and the ugly. No? And here you really get what I liked about this episode, and I didn't expect it to turn out this way, was it made Sanggu appear human. And I guess that's what I hope our viewers get to see. That beyond the problems and the calls for change in our community, beyond urgent appeals, statements, and class suspension pubs, there are people going through these processes. No? And that's a call for our community also, that we are more than a brand. We are more than Ateneo. We are more than a cloud. No? It's really a community of members. This episode, ang daming shots fired sa akin. Bureaucracy and systems. Actually, parang it's really parang I'm looking back, no, parang these systems kasi that we put in place this year in Sanggu, that's something we focused on talaga. Because for the past 2 years, we've dealt with the Sanggu without systems. And that really had repercussions in how much we got to respond to the problems that people face. Now we have systems, but admittedly, they have very heavy work on our members. But then looking at how they've responded to the different crises that we have, hindi rin perfect yung paggana ng systems, no? So parang Sanggu naman, it's something that's built over time. It's not only a year's worth of efforts, no? So parang where does the problem lie, no? Parang I guess that's the challenge in moving things forward, no? Kasi the problems are overlapping and then new problems will come that we never anticipated, no? So actually, I think that's the future that Sanggu and the student body will need to face, no? One of uncertainty and complexity, one of constantly needing to balance member welfare and needing to respond to the needs of students, di ba? Kasi there were numerous mentions of walang bayad, we were just appointed. That's true, but then we also acknowledge that at the end of the day, Sanggu will know better of how to do things. And it's not to point blame to one side or another. It's really finding that in between and that community amidst this mess that we collectively face, no? So, yeah, that's to end this first episode of Sabihin sa Sanggu Radio. Actually, I will already plug that we will have a second episode. When is it, Nicole and Ali, who are our project heads?
It
May
will
25?
be on- Yes.
Tama ba? Okay.
Yes.
So, na-invite na ba yung guests or hindi pa? I cannot reveal it. Mas-
Invited na yung iba. TJ.
Okay. So, yeah, we're planning to invite the incoming Sanggunian officers to the next episode. So, we hope you could tune in there. And, of course, we hope that you continue to engage with Sanggunian. And we hope that you got presented to conversations that put things more into perspective, no? So that's the hope for Sabihin sa Sanggu Radio moving forward. These first 2 episodes, they're just pilots, and we really plan to level off with you what Sanggu is, no? But moving forward, hopefully, the next term of Sanggu officers, they get to talk about the deeper issues that the community faces. But for now, I hope that this introduction to SSS Radio and Sanggu has help you put things into perspective. So, thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
SSS, sabihin sa sanggo. Kung may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa sanggo. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. Pag may dilema, huwag mag-alala. SSS, sabihin sa sanggo.